All right, so I kind of forgot to make this video earlier when I had this thing completely together. But I got my 6505 mini head, okay? And here's the pieces from it, from the front, underneath the grill, which was a pain in the ass to get out. Here's the grill. By the way, the reason why this grill is so hard to get out of this thing is because there are these little staples right there. Look at that. So when you're trying to pry this thing out, I suggest use a screwdriver and some needle nose pliers and lift very carefully. And I pretty much just kind of got like around the edges up here in the corners. It is going to kind of bend. And then be careful because this part is plywood. And as you can see here, look. So I'm going to have to glue that back. I got these things off of Etsy. These are huge. These are meant for like really like the 100-watt heads and this and that. But this is the 6505 mini head here. So I'm gonna put these strategically on here and show you what it looks like afterwards. Yeah, sorry I forgot to show you what this looked like before. But it's torn apart now in typical fashion. We're winging it. So I'll show you the finished product when it's done. Okay. So far, still work in progress. We got glue on this bad boy since that's where the plywood friggin' ripped off. But here we go. Look, so we got the 5152. I'll explain why I did the 5152 emblem later. You know, this is all sacrilegious anyway, but whatever. We got the Peavey insignia here. We got the EVH designed and built in the USA little plaque here. Now, so far, all I've done up to this point is just remove the corners of the Tolex. Just a couple screws, just get the corners off. As you can see there. Went in and took the handle off. This and that. We're now officially going to get this ready and prepped for paint. And then we're going to go ahead and stripe this sucker up. If you guys would like to see how you stripe something up, it's pretty self-explanatory, but neither here nor there. We're gonna let this Gorilla Glue comes in handy. We're gonna let that dry on that little plywood piece part there, and then we're gonna go ahead and just honestly, we're just gonna tape off the front here. That way, no paint happens to get in, and then I think just the back area. Over here, I'm gonna set the camera down. Tape off the back area here, make sure nothing wet or anything gets in there. And aside from that, guys, it's just straightforward. It's not exactly ideal conditions for painting today. It's gonna be about 130 frickin' bajillion degrees, Satan's ass outside. So we are going to have a severe case of swamp ass ourselves. And we're going to get this thing painted today because I have to go back to work tomorrow. And, you know, priorities, and we got stuff to do. So anyway, we're going to keep them coming for you. Okay. All right, so now we got this portion all taped as the front. And we also got the back portion taped. Now I just got to stripe it. Okay. Now let's talk about paints. And you guys always know what paints I use. These are the leftover paints that I had in the garage. So we use this Duplicolor Perfect Match Lacquer Olympic White. Then we're going to use really the 3 cans of what little bit I got left of this Chevrolet Orange Red DE 1607 Engine Enamel paint. And then just because I just want to just create that good old what do they call it? Well, it's a chemical reaction, but I can't think of what it's called right now because it's too hot outside. We're going to use this right here for this clear satin finish on that because I don't want it to be super shiny. And we're going to go ahead and paint now. We're going to do white first because why would I paint it black? The Tolex is already black, right? Right. Okay, so as I've told you guys before that weather conditions when you paint matters because it's 1,000 degrees outside, like I said, literally. And the paint that I had in my garage, because I'm not used to having a garage, Halen, calm down on the toy. The paint that I stored in the garage is essentially water. So the consistency, it's chemically changed. It's it just came out literally like water. I mean, it's still sprayed, but not with the same consistency as if it was held at room temperature or something like that. So maybe keep that in mind. I tried putting it like in the fridge to cool it down. I don't know if that was smart, stupid, indifferent, or thinking outside the box. But either way, I'm gonna have to go get some more paint. So we're gonna go buy new paint. Now the enamel might still work. However, I'm just gonna go ahead and get a brand new can for the sake of just, sanity. And doing the white again. So just keep that in mind. All right, guys, so new update. So paint change ever so slightly. So still duplicolor, but this is the universal white, okay? One can got me through this. Right now it's outside, it's drying with the white on there. I'm gonna stripe it up once it's dry, give it about 20, 30 minutes, and then we're gonna hit it with the enamel. I had to go out and buy all this paint again because, again, it was stored in my garage for 3 months, and it was essentially water. I guess my garage gets a little bit hotter than what I thought. But again, it is a 50 billion degrees. 50, I can't even function because I think I'm having a stroke. It's so hot. But yeah, we're going to keep documenting this thing like I told you I would. So hopefully I remember what the hell order this goes in. Yeah. And if you ever want a little paint set up at home, it's relatively easy. You just get yourself a little box, just cut one side out, put it there that way, because again, you can see the dust particles from the spray paint. Yeah, that's going to show up on your garage floor, on your rocks, grass if you're lucky to have it. You don't live out here in God's country. So yeah, that's what we're doing right now. I'm not going to paint the bottom. I thought I was going to, but honestly, I ran out of paint. And I'm not going to see the bottom of this thing anyway, so doesn't really matter. So far, so good. It's hot as hell. We got her all taped up for the white now. So I told you guys in previous videos before, leave your tape on. Obviously, these stripes are going to be where the black is. These stripes are going to be where the white is now. I'm going to go and hit this with a duplicolor engine enamel. God, I still can't talk. What else is new? And then we're going to start hitting this with the clear coat. So tape is off. Now it's time to apply the clear coat. Think it's looking pretty good so far. And it definitely looks a little bit more red in the natural lighting, don't panic. This is the same color I used on my 5150, my Vita Sterilitis, my Kramer Neptune. Edges are obviously not smooth, but it's not meant to be. I think on Ed's he probably just didn't even put clear coat. He just probably just, painted it and called it a day. But that's how it turned out. So we're going to put the clear coat on this sucker, and then we'll take the rest of this doodad off and do everything else to this. So, and then we'll start putting the corners back on and all that good stuff. Not completely finished product yet, but damn, it's looking good. Took all the tape off. Already got our few coats of clear coat. Not a whole lot. We've got all the hardware on here. And again, there was no rhyme or reason as to the reason why I taped it the way I did. I just kind of just did it and just saw how it turned out, to be honest. Here's the back for those of you that care. There's Halen giving his 2 cents. Back up, buddy. So we're just going to add a couple finishing touches on here, and then this sucker is done. Good to go. The 6505 Mini. Ooh. Now officially a 5150 2 in retrospect. Shut up. All right, she is done. So that probably took every bit of, I don't know, 5 hours as I took my time. Paint everything all done in one day, okay? So since the last upload of God knows how many videos this is, what I added was I took a silver paint marker, and I went over the 6505, and then I've got this out of like a, what was it? It was like an old Dunlop 5150, I think it was the overdrive box or something. I cut that out of one of the little manuals or something like that, and I just Gorilla Glued that sucker on there. Sorry, Halen's being a pain in the butt per usual. Didn't do anything else to the front except for that one thing there. Here on the back, oh my god! Well, here's the side, I guess, so you can see some better lighting. Sorry about my trash. This became a workbench real quick. My kitchen table here. So over here, did the same thing out of the manual. Took that little EVH, Gorilla Glued that sucker on there. Didn't really change anything else over there. This said like made in the USA, Peavey, and then it said made in China. It was really confusing to me, so I just went over the silver marker poorly, as you can tell, and I just put my 2-star stickers to represent the 5152 that this really isn't, but you know, that's what we're going for here. And then I got this out of, I think it was also to that 5150 overdrive box out of some manual or out of the box itself, I can't remember. But it said, this is what I use, Eddie Van Halen. I thought that looked really cool because all this on here was just a bunch of gibberish like 240 hertz, do not use this in the rain, blah, 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 yada, yada. And it was like an infomercial, like after medicine when it's like, take this, have diarrhea, cancer, does not protect you from STDs. Blah, you know, it's like, it was that whole thing right there. So we just went over that with the silver paint marker again, and then just Gorilla Glued that sucker on there. And then for just Halen, for a nice little added touch, the only other thing we did is we took some blue spray paint, put it down on a paper plate, took a brush, and just put that on there just in memory of the Frankenstein, because this is that style. Now again, I use the Chevrolet orange enamel paint. If you guys ever want to know like the difference in color is, I think it looks better, you know, on a lot of things, in my personal opinion. But if you want a color reference here, like here is one of the things that I cut out, and this happened to just be on the back. But if you want to know what the color difference is in some like good actual lighting, there's a color difference. There you go. Frankie. And Chevrolet orange. Now again, it looks more orange because it's really, really bright coloring. But obviously, as you kind of get a little bit farther away, it looks more like an orangish red, as it should. I've seen Ed's 5150s in the past that were like anniversary painted or this or that. And, you know, I've seen some of them in the Frankie, the red. But I really like the Chevrolet orange. And I'm a Chevy guy, so neither here or there. But anyway, that is the 6505 facelift aesthetic upgrade to the 5152. And I just chose to go with the 5152 because I see the 5150s constantly. And, you know, I think they even came out with the 6505 2 or whatever else, who knows. But I mean, I think James Brown was the guy who actually originally designed the amp for Eddie anyway, which was based off of Sodano. And so they're all essentially the same thing, man. You know, but we'll do an actual review on the amp, and I'll play through it. I've had it for a little bit. I was just honestly waiting to get these things off Etsy, and I had to wait for at least somewhat decent paint conditions, which didn't really happen. But hey, we made it work, and you know, it looks really cool and did exactly as it's supposed to do. So we're gonna go put it in its official home and make it look the part with the rest of the rig. So anyway, hopefully that helps you guys. You can do this yourself. Like I said, I mean, if this is essentially what it looked like before, with that stupid thing in there, dumb. And then this was down here underneath this grill that was such a pain in the butt to get off. Okay. So I don't know if anybody needs this, anybody wants this. I don't know. I'm not putting it on anything. Although I do like that Peavey insignia. It looks pretty cool, but prefer that. But neither here nor there. There's Halen. Peace out. All right, guys. So this is probably gonna seem really loud. I feel like it's like, since me talking over this, it's like the sound's just like carrying really loud, or maybe I'm just annoying myself. But I wanted to touch on a couple more things with this because I just got back from the gym. So, obviously got time to be brain dead and think about just monotonous, stupid things. So, again, this is, just off my head. So forgive me if I just start just like getting quiet and in my thoughts. But again, this was the Peavey 6505 mini head. So, Kyle, why did you get the 6505 mini head? Like I said in previous videos, Peavey gets a bad rap. Again, every company doesn't make absolutely perfect things. Sorry, I thought I didn't hit record. But I've always wanted to try this amp. I just never got around to it. But then the more I started to think about it, like one of the eras and tones that I really liked as far as a Van Halen fan, and again, I like all the versions from the old, 78 tone to Fair Warning to, For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge for the longest time was my all-time favorite tone, and then Balanced tone really grew on me, and then the only tone I was never really able to get into, not necessarily that it's bad, it's grown on me over the years, but was pretty much a different kind of truth, and then on. It just, his tone was super heavy, and a lot of gain. I liked more of his lighter gain stuff. Again, Eddie was Eddie. He'd make anything sound perfect and great, you know what I mean? But in the Balance era and For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge era, it's either anything from Soldano to his, to his Peavey 5150s, to his 5152, to the, and pretty sure that's about where it stopped for like the Balance era before he went on to obviously create his, his EVH line with Fender and this and that. But the main reason why I got this was because I was gonna go with the Soldano Slow 30. But I could get it used for what, 2,500? That's a lot of money. And, upwards of $3 or $4 grand if you want to do the custom and this and that. And, I'd always wanted the Peavey heads, for those tones that I spoke of prior that I really enjoyed, but those were 100-watt heads. And those 100-watt heads, man, if you just even look at the knob, like you're on the verge of being either deaf, blowing out your windows, or someone's knocking on your door because they think World War III is happening, right? So 100 watts is just way too much for playing at home, in my personal opinion. But if you do have a 100-watt head or a 50-watt head or whatever wattage, it goes all the way up. Sorry, he's got the zoom. He's going to be annoying as hell. But never get an Aussie. They're too much. Love them, but gosh. Still after a year, he's a pain in the butt. Love you, buddy. But, the reason why I never got, if you do have a 100-watt amp or a 50-watt amp, you can always get an attenuator. So essentially shut up! Sorry. What an attenuator is it basically starves the amp of power, so to speak, without really taking it away. It just allows you to basically play the amp at essentially any volume and not really take away from the tone of the amp. Okay, so you can actually play a 100-watt amp at like bedroom level. You know what I mean? So again, you know, if I got a Soldano, then I'd have to get an attenuator and this and that. And I always wanted to do a wet, dry, wet setup. And so, you know, I always wanted to try these amps. And so I was like, you know what, you know, the 5150 amp was kind of like old tech and a lot of people really loved it. But at the same time, like, I heard that the clean channel was shite and this and that or whatever else. And again, you know, we'll do a full review on this amp maybe next video. But that was mainly the reason why I pretty much stayed away from that amp altogether. But because I'm doing like a mini wet, dry, wet setup, you know, with the fortunate thing with this amp is that at least it has a built-in attenuator. You can adjust it from, you know, 1 watt, what is it, 1, 5, and 20. You know, 20 watts is still oh my god loud. 5 watts is oh my god loud. 1 watt is still loud. You know what I mean? So I got this so I didn't have to get an attenuator. That was just more money. You know what I mean? And again, I'm just playing at home nowadays. I'm not really going out gigging or anything like that anymore. So I tried this. Now, you're gonna probably ask, Kyle, why'd you do the stripe scenario? Again, the graphic design, if you will, of this was inspired by some of the old Peavey heads that I saw that were Ed's personal ones. They did do a couple short, limited runs of where the heads were painted. Now, I've seen some of them where the outside was painted, and I saw some of them where the face was painted and the 5150 was on the front. But I just really like that look. I thought it was a really cool look. You know, everything else is striped. Obviously, a huge Ed head and this and that. So I was just like, you know, I don't want to pay $3,000 or $4,000 on an amp that I didn't really particularly care for, it being 100 watts, and then have to fork out, you know, the collector's price of, ooh, but it's painted in this scheme when I can just do it myself. Again, this is something that you guys can do, and that's why we walked you through the video on how to do this and this and that. This is going to be at the end just to kind of just, again, talk a little bit more about it. With that being said, I wanted to touch on a couple of other things that I kind of forgot. Not necessarily touch base on, but just, I would say, just things to think about or things to consider. Just real quick, the spray paint I used when I said that, hey, I had to change up the paint a little bit, again, it was because the paint that I had was literally came out when I would hit it to spray, it just shot out like water. It wasn't mist, so had to get rid of that. And the same thing, I didn't even chance it with the that polyurethane Minwax spray that I had. I didn't even chance it with that. So what I ended up getting instead was this Minwax aerosol lacquer, and I maybe used a quarter of this can on this, and that was it. But you can get this at Lowe's, Home Depot, you know, probably even, I don't know, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, you know, some stuff you can get for your arts and crafts store. But I just want to touch base. This was the clear coat that I used. Okay, so that was one thing I forgot to kind of touch on. Another thing is these freaking. So see, here's the bottom that I didn't paint, but I did manage to put tape on the bottom a little bit and never took it off. It's neither here nor there. That's not what I'm going to talk about. These feet. Okay, see these feet? There's screws that go here in the middle, and when I was taking off the corners of the corner protector for the Tolex or Totex, however you want to say it. I think it's Tolex, and I don't even know. Neither here nor there. Correct me in the comments if you really even care enough to. But when I took these off, there's 2 screws, okay? Super easy, super simple. You use a screwdriver, drill. I only had a drill because it's easier. Drill's not necessary. You can do all this with just normal hand tools, if any at all. But it just cuts down on time. So these 2 screws they took out. Well, here at the bottom, I'm sitting here looking everywhere for these freaking screws, and because these feet have screws in them, but they go into the corner pieces. Okay, so that is your screw. I'm sitting here looking everywhere throughout my house. I'm like, what the hell did I do with these 4 screws? Like, where are they at? And I start looking at the bottom, but because I kind of, the spray paint got underneath, I thought that there was prior or previous holes where these were. And I couldn't find the holes, and I just like, for whatever reason, I guess I didn't really pay attention when I took them off because I was just in such a go mode. And then when I took them out, I didn't realize till later that the screws I was looking for are just these screw into these bottom, those are your screws for the bottom pieces. So just food for thought. That way you don't do what I did and be a dummy and think they're missing and you're like, oh no, I forgot. And another reason why I did the 5152 emblem was because that was really the ones that I saw that were painted. The majority of his 5150, the first version of it with Peavey, there wasn't really too many painted. And again, there wasn't a lot with the second one either, but this was really the kind of the ones that I found. If I was to do things over again, the big bold lettering, again, this is what was meant for 100 watt heads. I didn't realize that. I probably would have got like a smaller version in the future, but again, it still looks sick and I got no complaints. So again, that's just about your preference, what you want to do. But I guess another thing to touch base on, what I'm thinking about, is people would probably think that this is stupid, like, you know, why would you change it? I was never a fan of how it looked. I just didn't like it. I mean, I don't have a problem with this emblem necessarily, but I just always thought that a mini 5150 version would look so cool. And again, the 6505 is exactly that. It's just that the 5150 was trademarked, but Peavey still owned the rights to the amp and the design and this and that. So that's why they came out with the 6505. It's just made the exact same way. Everything's the exact same. It's all trademark and marketing, and it's about the money, okay? But I just wasn't a fan of, because, you know, every time I look at the 6505, I just think 5150 because that's what it is. But again, that's not here or there. You guys don't have to do this. You don't have to change your stuff. You don't have to do any of this. It doesn't make it sound any better or anything else. Again, it's just all for aesthetics and this and that. And again, too, I think I touched base on it, how I cut stuff out of like manuals and this and that. But, you know, use stickers, go ham with it, do whatever you want to do. I mean, it's a blank canvas to do what you want. I did get this used. I think brand new, they're maybe $500-600, but you can get this used almost anywhere now, man, for like $400. And from having played it now for, you know, about a month or so, you know, it's worth $400, and 100% is. But again, we'll do a full review on this amp at a later date. But obviously, I think somewhat decent enough. Otherwise, I wouldn't have went through all this trouble and did this. Because like I said, I want to make sure I like the amp first before I even went down the rabbit hole of, you know, doing all this customization to it and blah, 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 blah. Again, off my head, is there anything else I want to touch base on this thing? I don't think that there really is. I mean, I'm trying to think of what other challenges I may have had besides just the weather conditions just being so freaking hot. I already told you about the screws that I couldn't find. Oh, here's the thing. As I told you guys before, just make sure, because again, weather conditions, when you start spray painting this, it gets wet and this and that. So the tape is going to start to lift, and then depending on the angle that you're spraying from, if you're spraying down or whatever this, remember the dust particles from spray paint goes out and then it settles. And when it does, if there's any opening or anything like that, this is when this stuff happens. Okay, now, yeah, I could have went in there and touched that up and this and that, but it probably would have looked worse. And again, this is just a spray paint job. It's meant to look kind of, you know, excuse my French, fucked up. But anyway, so that was just another thing that I thought about. Oh, another little tip. So you can't see in here, maybe you can, there's black screws, okay? I just took those out from here and used those to put those in, and they literally just screwed right into the wood with a screwdriver. It's plywood in there. It's painted black. It's easy. But if you ever, let's say you do lose the screws and you're like, oh crap, I don't have any black screws that I can steal from anything and this and that or make work. Again, you can always go to your hardware store if need be. But let's say you're like, man, I don't have time or I don't have the money or whatever else. As long as you got a black Sharpie, okay, you can screw in whatever as long as it fits. You know, you don't use a 9-inch long net screw to fuck this thing up. Excuse my French, and you just use a smaller screw. You can always screw that in, even if it's silver or chrome or whatever, and then take a black permanent marker and just color over the top of it, and it's gonna look black. So you can do those things if you're kind of like, man, if you're a perfectionist and your OCD kicks in and you're like, man, I just really want to put in the black screws, but I don't have any, and all I got is the silver or whatever. You can't. There's, like I said, there's so many different things that you can do to make this work for you. And that was the spirit of Eddie Van Halen, was make it work for you. Not to get cringy or whatever else, but again, that's life. Make it work for you. Again, I will do a full review on this amp. This was just something that I just have been wanting to do. I will give credit to Rob Johnson, per usual. Thank you, buddy. He was the first one that I actually saw kind of do something similar to this, where he had the 5150 emblem underneath the grill, and he had the Peavey, the smaller size. It probably looks better. And again, ours are a little different, but he just, did the black on his, and he put EVH here for the make it look like the block letter. Really cool look. And that's what kind of inspired me to do this also. And again, guys, that's what we're here for, is to help each other. And hopefully, again, this inspires you, or lets you know, like, if I can do this stuff, you can certainly do this. You really can. And again, it just really depends on how much money you got. I remember when I was younger, I didn't have $400 to go throwing around at something. So I don't say $400 lightly, or like it doesn't matter or something like that. Please be quiet. No. Come here. Where's your toy? Come here. On that note, guys, he's driving me absolutely bonkers, per usual. But if you have any questions, again, I'm here to help. Sorry if it's going to be a long video, but, I just started thinking about other things that I wanted to touch on, while I was at the gym, that I guess I hadn't thought about, because the brain fried, whatever, or the outside fried, whatever brain cells I have left. I am done. Okay, on that note, my brain's shutting down. Next thing I'm not going to be breathing or blinking. Simple things in life. So, again, we'll touch on how this sounds, but I just wanted to get that in there for you guys. And hopefully you're well. Hopefully you're doing great. And until next time, do whatever it is you do.